But I would say my first and second culprit is Bo Nix's eyes just being too locked in on one guy, and Bo Nix's lack of pocket presence and lack of letting development happen. Those are the two things that jumped out at me more than anything else, Stoke.
Yeah, that's really well said there, Mark. And you look at the interception, the third play of the game, and they only brought 4. I mean, they rushed 4 guys, and we kept guys in. We were helping out on the tackles and chipping and doing that. Bo had great protection. I mean, he had all day. He just got a little bit antsy, got a little bit uncomfortable, felt a little pressure from the backside, and then all of a sudden he moves a little bit to the right. And, Mark, you're right. He doesn't slide well in the pocket. Okay, this is still he's still a young quarterback, folks. This isn't an indictment on what it's going to look like in 8 weeks. Just right now, a little bit antsy. Things are moving a little bit quick for him, a little bit fast. And he kind of hops. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
He hopped to the right, and then when his feet hit the ground, he saw Mims, and he just threw it right away. And that's why it was very inaccurate there. And you talk about zone defenders, and we're seeing zone defense. And sometimes for young quarterbacks, they'd rather see man-to-man. And because guys are running away from the defenders, it's easier for that guy to process the quarterback to process what's going on. All of a sudden, zone, and these guys are just dropping the spots. And to Mark's point, what are they doing? They're reading your eyes. And if you're locking in on people and you're honing in on guys, well, they're just reading and reacting to your eyes. It can be more difficult in zone defense sometimes with what the Chargers were doing. They're only rushing 4. So there's a lot of guys. It's muddy out there. And then now you're only really getting 3 guys out in the pass pattern, and it's 3rd down and 8, so you don't want to take the check down. You're trying to force the ball down the field. It can be complicated. Saying all of that, I don't think this isn't something that they're stuck with or that they can't fix from a philosophy, from a philosophical. Is that the right dang word?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. From that perspective, it's not anything that's unfixable here. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't think we're going to see a whole different approach here on Thursday. But after the bye, you kind of self-scout. I think they might go about this a little bit differently with Bo Nix.
Well, here's what I'm hearing from you, Mark, is that nothing's really changed from Russ to Bo. We still have a quarterback who's not comfortable in the pocket, and it's, I guess, even more concerning because that was never necessarily Russ's thing, right? But with Bo, what were we told? Hey, 61 starts in college. This guy has seen so much. He's calm. He's cool. He sees where the ball's supposed to go. He gets rid of it quickly. He goes through all of his progressions. And you're telling me he's not doing any of that. And I thought right from the first game of the season that there were some throws that he looked rattled on, led to some poor mechanics, some bad footwork, and that's a concern because it's not like this guy is getting beat up David Carr style. He's only been sacked 9 times through the first 6 games. So why is he looking so uncomfortable?
Mike, let me say this: that he's sped up right now, and young quarterbacks get sped up, and you know, I talk to coordinators all the time that will say the same thing, man. He speeds his feet up a little bit, so his timing is a little bit off with the routes and the route combinations. And unlike Russ, he's not escaping out of the back of the pocket and taking sacks. He is climbing the pocket. But one word I wrote down was frenetic. His feet are frenetic in the pocket. They aren't smooth. They aren't easy. When he climbs the pocket, it's like a sprint, as opposed to, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And so those are the things. And then there are some throws, like that first interception to Mims. They're running, number 3 is running. They're running a concept called dagger. So Mims is taking an in-cutting route at about 18 yards. And it's pretty well covered. Like they're reading that route, and they've got it covered. He's got a pretty clean pocket, and he's got a check down for a first down. Easy. Like an easy check down for a first down. And he just doesn't throw it. He just decides to shove that one down the middle. And then there was a couple of crossers that he's looking at that are wide open where he dump it off to the tight end, and you're talking about 12, 14, 15-yard drive starter. And he gets off it for some reason and decides not to throw it. And there's a few of those And I will say, lastly, one other thing, Mike, is you coupled this with, man coverage, not beating man coverage from the other receivers and some of the other stuff, the zone that Stokley talked about. Forsythe got manhandled, and the Chargers did a really good job of saying, how are we going to single him up, and then how are we going to destroy him in the center, at the center position. So there was some quick pressures. You got a holding call on the big-time throw over the top to Cortland Sutton that got the call back. So there were plenty of blame or plenty of dirty fingerprints to go around. But like I said, the two biggest things in my eyes are Bo's eyes and his frenetic nature in the pocket. Those are the two things that have to be cleaned up right now.
And you talked yesterday, you said, do we need to, I don't know how you phrased it, do we need to take the handcuffs off of Bo? Do we need to open this thing up for Bo? Are they holding Bo back? I think that's how it was phrased. And I didn't know quite where you're going with that. And I asked you, Mike, what do you mean by saying that? Because is someone saying that on the station? Where'd you come up with this? Tell me what you mean. You never could quite give me a definition of what you meant. But when so I was just like, okay, I don't really know where you're going with it. But when I was watching the film, that thought came into my mind because I'm watching them offensively. And I'm watching maybe a coaching staff that is being very conservative with Bo and is very concerned maybe about the offensive line injuries that they had. And they're trying to protect who? Trying to protect their tackles. Protect Pert. Protect Bolsey a little bit. And so
that's sad.
What does that mean, folks, when you're trying to protect your tackles? That means you got to keep a guy in, your tight end. He's got to chip, and then he gets out in the pattern. Well, that half or full second there, second and a half, that's a lot. What does a running back do when he's going to Bolsey's side? Well, he's going to chip. Okay, and now he doesn't get out in the pass pattern on time, on schedule. And when I'm watching these plays, I'm seeing pass patterns that are taking a little bit longer to develop, and I'm just not seeing – you're looking up and you're seeing three receivers out there. And so you don't have a lot of options to throw to. And if you're playing a zone where a lot of times – on these third downs, you're seeing the Chargers just rush 4. And the Broncos are keeping extra guys in, and then they get out in the pass pattern. And by that time, Bo's happy feet are, right? And he's moving all over the place, right? And sometimes that's the best approach with a young quarterback. Make them try to be patient in the pocket. And that's what the Chargers did. But you look up, and it's 7-on-3. 7-on-3, that's not good. You got 7 defenders playing this zone coverage, and we got 3 wide receivers running around. And sometimes it's not zone. Sometimes it's man. But still, you got 7 on 3, and then you got your 2 other guys checking out there. But it's no good when it's, dang, 3rd down and 8. These guys can't even get close to past the sticks. And so I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, well, man, maybe they are holding Bo back a little bit and being really conservative. Maybe they just need to say, hey, you know what? Pert, you know what? Bolsey, you're getting paid a lot of money. You got to step up sometimes. Now, I don't want to throw caution to the wind and say, oh, we're never going to chip, we're never going to help out. But maybe we just need to stop being so conservative. Maybe be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe whoever Mike heard it from I owe them an apology. Okay? And maybe that was Cecil Lammey. I heard Cecil saying something about it yesterday. And I was driving in the car, and I'm like, huh.
Honestly, Stoke, and I'll just be completely honest, I couldn't give you an example of what it means, the idea that Sean's holding Bo back. It is something that you hear a lot of. Whenever a quarterback struggles, well, he's being held back. You know, let Bo be Bo. Let him cook, you know? And I'm hearing that. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And nobody really could articulate it. That's why I kind of tossed it out there, and I'm glad that you took a deeper dive into it. I guess my reaction to what you said is that, well, wait a minute. You drafted Bo, and you told us right away that this guy is such a quick processor, gets rid of the ball quickly. All right, so maybe you give up some of that security that you were talking about to protect the offensive line. make Bo a little bit more vulnerable, I guess, but at least you're sending more people out into the pattern and trust that Bo can make the right decision, the quick decision, get rid of the ball quickly.
Right. And you understand the approach, though. I don't want to get our young quarterback hit, bam, 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 and be in the pocket just getting hit all the time. So,
but he really hasn't been hit.
Well, because they've been very conservative.
Well, maybe
that's
now.
Why.
Well, then open it up.
Right.
Let's see if.
And
if he goes back and if he starts getting knocked around, okay, go back to the.
Yeah.
Other
But
way.
you can understand that approach for a young quarterback. We want to help our offensive line out. We don't want to make this thing look really bad for him, and all of a sudden now his confidence is shattered and all of these types of things. But it's not working. This approach isn't working.